This is the best of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
There are things in sports to talk about today. Alexander Ovechkin, or as my father calls him, Ovechki. He is now a champion, so we can shuffle off to people like Carmelo Anthony. We can stop saying he is soft and chokes and even he loses teeth and his face doesn't look like it did 4 years ago because it keeps getting hit with pucks. He is now no longer soft, mentally frail in the postseason. He was beat. He beat a team that didn't exist a year ago. And so now he gets to be a champion, and we will shuffle off to Carmelo Anthony. Tony Romo retired to avoid us.
Right, Kevin Durant.
So before we talk about the sports stuff, though, there are certain times. I don't know if this is one of them for you, but this was for me. I rarely connect with celebrity death. It does not happen to me very often, where beyond the gossiping elements of, hey, can you believe so-and-so died, where you actually feel something. But Anthony Bourdain felt like he was enjoying life. I know he had undercurrent of darkness, and I know that he could have jagged edges, but when it came to Anthony Bourdain, I think of fun. It's not food, it's fun. I think of like living. I don't think of dying. I think of like living and living big and living as celebration. And so it's not, if it would be one thing for him to simply die. That by itself would be jarring enough when someone who's so filled with life, when they extinguish.
But to take your own life?
Well, what was happening there? You just think to yourself, I don't think of the mystery stuff. I'm like, well, wait a minute. How did he hide that pain so well? How did he hide the pain so well that killing himself seemed like a solution? And so I don't know what the reports are on this, Mike. I don't know what the details are, but Anthony Bourdain is dead at 61 by apparent suicide. And this is a person who, and some of you felt this, we generally feel it with art more than we feel with the people. We love your art, David Bowie. We love your art, Prince. We find connection points with somebody who is so amazing that when Bruce Springsteen is performing on Broadway, Stugotz, when it's a small, intimate venue, this guy has gotten so big musically that you feel he's playing just for you. You see him on Broadway and you feel like you are getting a private audience with somebody whose talent you respect so much that you've grown to love the individual. Bourdain did that with food, man. You know how hard it is to become, like, that is the front end of that whole chef. We're going to maybe regret the whole chef television permutation, but we didn't regret it the way he was doing it. Like, he was learning as he went. He was experiencing risk. He was going to heights and depth. And now, and I know this isn't about sports, and we'll give you some sports here, kind of, with Hulk Hogan later, and Chael Sonnen's going to come through here. He's going to be in studio.
What do you mean, kind of?
It's not sports.
It isn't?
Hulk Hogan and Chael Sonnen. I mean, they're both wrestlers. Both of them are actual professional wrestlers. And Chael Sonnen's better at it than even Hulk is. Chael Sonnen is better at the professional wrestling character than Hulk Hogan is. Put that on the poll, actually, Guillermo. Is Chael Sonnen better at the professional wrestling character than Hulk Hogan is? Now, am I alone with this, though? Did you guys feel this one this way? Because I can't even say I was a fan of his show. Like, I wasn't tuning in to watch food shows, although many of you will now make the joke that by the looks of me. But this was a guy that made himself famous, as far as I can tell, from enjoying life.
Yes, traveling, enjoying life, seemed to be very happy. I think it was a shock to just about everyone. Yes, but I mean, we're basing this stuff on the exterior, right? We have no idea.
Well, Robin Williams. We talked about Robin Williams earlier this week, and the author of the Robin Williams biography. Yeah, it doesn't. We can't do this the way we've been trying to do the steroid test that way, and Bartolo Colon and Guillermo Mota and D. Gordon messed that up for us. You can't do the happiness test either by what's happening just on the outside when you happen to be watching.
I've watched about a dozen episodes of that show. I think he did a great job on that show. I don't think I was shocked because it's not like he was enjoying life the way, Andrew Zimmern on Bizarre Foods was. There was an undercurrent of darkness and moodiness, and it made him cool. Honestly, he gave off rock star, and I know he was big in that whole music scene. And
women love that dude.
Oh, incredibly sexy man.
Oh, but who is the sexiest man of that age? Because you get to your 60s, there are not a whole lot of people who can pull that off, but he was pulling it off, and it was all of it. It was that he had that masculine undercurrent that could be dark. But when I think, man, all of us, right, in some respect, think of living the life as travel and food. Yeah. Like that's the life, right? That was his career.
Yeah, and it wasn't just, hey, I'm friends with Iggy Pop. It's not, this old guy in this old music scene. No, he was in with the contemporary folks too. He was just ultra cool, but there was just something about him that added to his appeal, but also when you hear about the sadness that was obviously in his life, it kind of makes sense.
Who else in sports, Stugotz? Who's in sports? Did they gave off the Bourdain vibe? I've told you this story before of being in a pub and Pat Riley came in and the two women I was with, early 30s.
Man, way to go.
and one of them said of Pat Riley as he walked in, because he's still got, it helps to have the frame those two guys have, where you're just wiry. You look like you're made of expensive rods. That expensive rods are holding up your skin, and so everything fits like better than it does on the mannequin because of those expensive rods that make you so generally erect. And so
but also smooth.
And also suave, right? And you know that you're generally erect, and so you give that off to others. Your aura is generally erect. And so what ends up happening is the woman says, "Who's the silver fox?"
Ah.
That's Pat Riley. Pat Riley is the silver fox.
He was wearing the suit, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't. He doesn't have to. No.
He looks so damn good. I think he even looks
better without his suit.
Yeah, he does.
I like the look where Riley has like a button down kind of tucked in with a couple of buttons unbuttoned up top, and he's got the sleeves rolled up. That's a good look for him.
Sleeves rolled up, Pat Riley.
Yeah.
It's heart-stopping.
Like what he wore when he was dancing on stage.
Boom.
I'll give you another one with Pat Riley. You will never see Pat Riley outside of his house looking like anybody but the impeccably groomed, even if it's shorts, the impeccably groomed Pat Riley. You will not see him outside of the house looking like something less than the silver fox.
We did a South Beach session, which was this longer form interview series that we had on podcasts for a bit, and I came to the studio to record Dan and Pat Riley. It was a sit down, and Pat Riley came in wearing a perfectly tailored flannel and the hippest jeans, and when he walked into the room, I went like this.
Yeah. That's how it happened to men and women. That's how it happens. What a wonderful gift to have.
Oh, it's amazing. My wife loves them. It's a gift and a curse.
I thought you were going to actually make the joke. It's amazing to have this curse because you have it. Is that what the joke you were making?
It's both a gift and a curse, yes. I mean, Mike, look at this picture of Riley with the rolled up sleeves. I mean, it is amazing.
And he's got facial hair in there. Every look that he's ever tried works. Every look. Except for that 15-1 season. Nothing looked good.
Dan Le Batard.
I finally found a guy who seems to be credible, who in print has lent to what I've been saying for a couple of years now, that Elon Musk is a quack.
So I asked you guys, what does the article say about him? And he just keeps repeating. He says he's a quack.
Yeah, he just keeps saying quack. And then you ask him, did you read the article? And he says, quack, quack. It's like talking to a duck.
Stugotz.
Elon Musk is a...
What's the headline? Because it's why you clicked on it. And then you said, get me this writer. He's credible.
I don't know how to pronounce this word. Would you mind reading the headline?
Elon Musk is a messianic huckster. So he is giving off Messiah, but he's a Messiah fraud.
Exactly. I was talking about huckster, but thank you.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We bypass for the moment the story about Edelman getting a PED suspension for 4 games. We all yawn in the face of PED suspensions, but there is one team where it matters more than any other in sports. And it's the one that's always getting hit for cheating. And it's the one that has Tom Brady and Gronk presently fighting over a doctor who's not a doctor with management. And that doctor who's not a doctor is also training Edelman. So that there's one team in the sport. You could yawn at all the others, but one team doing it where you're getting unprecedented performance from the quarterback position who's got some sort of medical oracle on the sidelines that Belichick doesn't want on the sidelines. Like, that's one thing. We'll get to that. We will get to Ali and the potential pardoning by Donald Trump of Muhammad Ali. But we start with the more important story, which is Stugotz hit a squirrel on the way in today.
I did, yeah.
And before we get to that important story, we start with the more important story of Stephen A. Smith just undressed Max Kellerman on television. Mike wishes we were on air. What happened with the undressing?
Oh, it got loud. The crowd was into it. Max was trying to formulate an argument about how the series is extending, really. And Stephen A. shared some off-air information over the air. It's like, if this series is still a series, then why are your bags packed and you're going home after tonight? Max had no response, and his face told the story.
Is it 2-3-2 though, or
no? They changed
okay.
that because they realized travel.
But he's going somewhere, right, Max? I mean,
yeah, he's going home.
But Stugotz's point that the bag might be packed because he might be headed to Golden State is Stugotz's point. But it's the way that Stephen A. delivers it. It doesn't matter if it makes sense, if it's factually accurate. If anything, you're just going to get an oh.
And Max shrunk. His face. Max shrunk.
Poor Max, man. You guys feel bad for Max? He can't win. I mean, Stephen A. gets all the ovations, gets all the cheers. I mean, it doesn't matter what's coming out of Max's mouth. He gets nothing.
Then Will comes in.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of elbowed Max out.
Yeah, he's got nicer hair. I mean, geez.
Yeah, because Max is the bad guy because he's not the hero of the show.
Wait
we
a
all know
minute,
Stephen A.
is Will Kane Garoppolo? Garoppolo to Max is Tom Brady. I understand Stephen A. is Tom Brady. I understand.
I can understand where Max probably hates Will Kane. Yeah. Because Max, who generally has always been a super likable hero on every show he's ever been, he's pitted against Stephen A. It's supposed to be a debate show, so someone's going to have to be wrong, and the crowd loves Stephen A. Yeah. And here comes Will Kane, who doesn't mind being the bad guy. In fact, he loves it.
Well, I told you guys, right? I told you guys. And Max, this is the greatness of Stephen A. Smith. Listen to what I'm about to tell you and what shrinks in its presence. Max Kellerman, the first time I met him, was lamenting that Jesus had accomplished more at a similar age than he had. That Max thought he had. Max
that only Jesus?
That's right. That's right. Well, listen.
Wait, so in the order of achievements at that age, it was Max Kellerman second, Jesus first?
He was having a birthday, and he was talking about things that people had accomplished by the time they were his age, and he didn't feel like he had accomplished enough. He was a child star who, born on TV because he knew so much about boxing. What Bob Ryan did for us yesterday with 70 years of experience, Max was doing on television in New York when he was like 14 or 15 years old. He was making rap videos, and then IMAX happened.
Maxianity. A prodigy, you might say.
But the first time I met Max, I'm on the PTI set, and I'm meeting him, because this is the thing that I do. I date people on television. Don't have chemistry beforehand. Just date people on television and then create the chemistry as you figure it out. I'm meeting Max. I'm coming into PTI. I haven't done it very often. I've still got nerves about doing Pardon the Interruption. And Max Kellerman is telling people that he's the greatest public orator since Martin Luther King.
Man, wow.
Okay.
That is what Stephen A. by the day steals the soul of as it turns gray in front of us, because Stephen A. is just giving him a beating every day that includes telling him that, betraying personal secrets that have to do with bags being packed. You can ask Max. He'll tell you. Max will tell if you ask Max, did you once claim that you were the greatest public orator since MLK?
I don't think you'll still argue that. He's getting handed L's on the reg on that show.
Yeah, I'm not certain he'd admit it either. Seriously. I think Stephen A. has stripped him of everything. Just his soul, his memories, all of it. Yeah, confidence.
Well, we've argued. We've been watching for a while here, and we'll get to Stugotz hitting a squirrel in a second because he's not the same. He's not right. He's dragged the sadness, and I understand it. I understand it. As bad as I've felt around an animal as one time when I was going like 90 miles an hour on the highway and I hit a bird in my grill, and then I'm just like, there are feathers everywhere. And then I just see cartoonishly in my rearview mirror, like what remains of the bird, like spiraling to the ground in little circles. Yeah, it felt terrible. And Stugotz is here because he left in his rearview mirror, he left a squirrel that was writhing on the ground. And Stugotz says, I feel really remorseful about it. And Chris came back with, no, you don't. And Stugotz's response was, I thought about going to help it. And that is the maximum extension of his remorse.
I did think about it. Busy street, rush hour, early this morning, so I didn't go back, but I did think about it. I've never hit an animal before with my car. Never. Or period, for that matter. It's not like I walk around hitting animals. So I never hit an animal before, and that sound when you hit the squirrel, right, who's playing Frogger across the road. I don't know if anyone knows what that means, that video game, Frogger. And then you hit it. I was trying to swerve out of the way. I hit it. I heard the sound. Then I saw it kind of squirming around on the road in my rearview mirror. And I'm telling you, I have not been the same all day. I feel terrible for this squirrel. Squirrels are so adorable, man.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Do you remember Frogger? Stugotz put forth the bare minimum effort. The only thing that Stugotz contributed to that squirrel's life, the only thing he added to it after ostensibly ending that life, is to feel bad about it. And that is the maximum effort he's making, is to just feel bad for that moment.
It's genuine, I do. I mean,
and then he turned it
I looked in a mirror, I mean, still could have made it. I mean, what'd you do with the bird? I mean,
I felt bad. I still feel bad. 20 years later, I still feel bad.
I mean, you don't know.
Chicken time.
You don't feel bad about me. You bad. The fact that's the first time you thought about it since.
I've eaten so many of your friends fried.
That was my cousin.
Phil, I remember him. Delicious. Mayo. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I upset you by bringing up the past, chicken. We make fun of our security guard next.
More money, more problems.
Poor squirrel.
We're doing nothing to prevent our aging process in the ears of our listeners by talking about Frogger.
Great game, though.
It was great. I loved it.
So much fun.
Dan Batard.
Do you go to the supermarket at all, Dan?
I do. I go to, yes, I do.
Whole Foods or something? That'd be better.
I have a lot of difficulty picturing Dan pushing a shopping cart.
Yeah, he's a handbasket guy.
Stugotz.
No way it's a cart.
Yeah, no.
There's no way it's a
I'd
cart.
be so
No
shocked.
way.
I'd be less shocked if Dan was riding a burro.
No,
Yeah.
if he goes shopping cart, he's at the front of it pulling it, not at the back of it.
Really?
If he's doing it, it's not the traditional
Right,
way.
he's
It's
not
something
two
awkward.
hands. He's not two hands on the handle.
Yeah, he's in front of it and he's dragging it behind him.
Yeah, as he's picking out the stuff. Yeah.
I have Mike pushing the cart and Dan just going down the aisle.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get triple action protection for optimal engine performance with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Washington Capitals have won the Stanley Cup. Alexander Ovechkin earned the Conn Smythe Trophy. It was a cool moment last night. The NBA Finals is tonight as the Warriors face the Cavaliers at 9 Eastern on ABC and ESPN Radio. And finally, big news here. Val Kilmer has officially signed on to reprise his role as Iceman in the highly anticipated sequel to Top Gun. How about that? Mike is biting on a pair of dog tags right now. Is it a pair of dog tags? I'm not certain what it is.
No, he didn't bite anything when he did that,
that's right.
that alpha move
Yeah, but
in Maverick's direction. He just chomped.
Eventually, he chomped on a dog tag, though. He did.
Top Gun, in retrospect, hugely homoerotic, yes?
Volleyball scene.
But in the history of the movies, in the history of the sports movies, you've got Rocky and Apollo Creed dancing in slow motion in the water while wearing tube socks, in terms of homoerotic sensuality.
Well, not really a sports movie, but when Joel Schumacher was directing Batman movies, he really concentrated on Batman's butt when he was trying to, get dressed.
Is Top Gun a sports movie? Like, I know it's not. I know. No, I know, but
it's
it
actually
feels
a volleyball
It's the same
scene.
audience.
It's a volleyball
It's the same
movie.
audience.
Top
I'm
Gun's
not saying
a volleyball movie.
I'm not saying that it's a beach volleyball movie. I'm not saying that it's not the same audience. It's not a sports movie, though. I had another line, by the way.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Do the same people who like Top Gun like sports?
Guys, you know me. I like to be in the action. If you need tickets to the game or your favorite band, look no further than Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Vivid Seats has options to fit your needs. Make sure you get to vividseats.com/ESPN today for an exclusive discount offer. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
What else you guys got from the sports movies or from the action movies where you would say, because Val Kilmer, that whole biting thing, he was in a locker room, right? He was in their fighter pilot locker room. I mean, that was homoerotic. That wasn't acting. It was Val Kilmer being Val Kilmer, as I imagine Val Kilmer to be in old age. Val Kilmer in Top Gun is going to be a little bit bloated, I would imagine.
Fighter pilot locker room's always a staple to start any sort of tension in those types of movies. Who can forget Broken Arrow after John Travolta and Christian Slater start the movie boxing and wonderfully shot by John Woo? They go back to the locker room and you realize there's more to this relationship.
Headline in the Daily Mail here, Stugotz. Mexico's national team partied for 24 hours at a private party just 2 weeks before the club.
World Cup?
Sorry, the World Cup.
Yep.
How many escorts were there?
That's a fun. You're asking me how many?
That was the question I just asked. Yeah, you were so busy making your
500.
joke. You making your joke, and you were so busy doing the funny thing that you do that you just repeated my question that I asked you. That was just how many, but you had to get in.
Confusing question. Club,
no, you're right. I
World
got
Cup,
it wrong.
I
I did. I called it the club instead of the World Cup. You can understand how I made the mistake. It's because I'm old.
And then you responded to the question by saying 500 prostitutes.
That's right. And then he just nukes the game. That's right. And, of course, he got it exactly on the dot. It was 500 escorts.
Wow.
No, it was 30.
Oh.
Which is a lot if you don't guess 500.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I mean, again, I was confused, thrown off. I didn't know World Cup. I didn't know we were talking about club. Listen, you can put it on me all you want, but the question wasn't great. I'm just saying, I'm not blaming anyone. I don't have any money. I'm not paying fines today. I have no money on me, man. I've given $500 to the fine bucket this week.
No, you haven't actually. We have an IOU in there for $9.
Oh.
Blame the squirrel.
Feel bad for that squirrel, man.
So, Mike Ryan, help me with this here because we've told this story before. We have security here. We have Disney security here because we're a very big and important show. We've become the biggest in America. We need to be secured from your loons. And Mike Ryan got this security because Mike Ryan is an executive producer and crisis preventer because we got some threats here one day that were death threats. And we rained down Disney Global Security on those death threats. And when Disney Global Security showed up at that house to inquire about the death threats, man, was his father mad. And so now we've got security here. We've got this bulletproof door, and we've got this guy out there who's often watching weightlifting videos, and he, is wearing ankle weights. He is often watching videos of himself. I'm pretty sure there's an illicit romance going on with somebody who works on the premises because he's I don't know. I'm guessing. Anyway, the point is that
would be reckless speculation.
It is reckless All right, let me do that again. All right, let's do that again. My bad. You know what? You're totally right. This was wrong of me. It's not something I shouldn't be putting company business out there in the ether.
Also, you implied that this was Disney security. This is a subcontractor.
All right, very good. Whatever. It's the ankle weight musclehead guy.
Time to throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless. Here is something we like to call reckless speculation.
You're good.
I'm pretty sure he's here. You're just using this as like Tinder. But anyway, like the Clevelander Tinder. Regardless. What he's not doing is his job.
Cleve Tinder.
So I come out of this door here, and security presents me with a fan who wants to show me a 15-minute video that the breaks are 3-4 minutes around here.
Right. That's nice. I mean,
okay, but that's not his job. His job is to make sure that person.
Isn't the
Did
job...
he want me to frisk the person? Did he want me to go out there and frisk the person to make sure that he didn't have anything on him?
Well, do you know that he didn't? Because I'm assuming he vetted the guy, and then once he deemed...
He got off the Cleve Tinder for long enough to vet the guy?
Yeah, that's just my guess, because that's what a security guard should do, is that he vetted the guy, and then once he felt comfortable, he allowed the guy to knock on the door.
There was no vetting.
Well, do we know?
It looked like the security guard was working for the guy. He brought me somebody who needed something.
You know what's going to be great is when he shoos away Chael Sonnen later.
That's right. Well, that's what's going to happen.
Now we got to wake up.
No, there's going to be let's think about this. Meathead against Chael Sonnen when he gets here. Not only that he injures Chael Sonnen, or the Chael Sonnen and they end up in a fight because he's here securing me. Well, from the guy who clearly looks like he might be dangerous. That's exactly right. He's taking on all comers back there.
I would hate to be Chael Sonnen later today. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
He's going to be like that squirrel Stugotz ran over, writhing in the background.
I mean, you mentioned that he's out there not doing his job. Are you disappointed that he's not just practicing his nunchucks when you?
That's what. Yes, I would like him. Yes, I would like him
intense
to be
training.
I would like him to be doing Taekwondo poses, clearing his aura for future violence. Yes, that would make me feel safer than what he did, which is bring me somebody who wanted to show me a 15-minute video they thought should be on the show.
Cha-ching! Time for some ads.
How was the video?
I didn't see it. I was very confused and disoriented by both the person with the video and his helper who works for us.
Guest co-host?
Cash more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
I'm a one-trick pony. Literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Every week during the baseball season, ESPN's premier baseball insider joins Dan and Stugotz to drop some hardball knowledge and take your calls.
Honey got me swishing like a dreadlock. She don't wrestle, but I got her in a headlock. Yabba dabba doo, make her bedrock.
Yeah! Here is Dan Le Batard, Stugotz, and Tim Kirchen on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, with insurance for cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. Tim Kirchen going to join us in just a second here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Takes your phone calls, 786-456-4837. Here's your SportsCenter update. Julian Edelman is facing a 4-game suspension for PEDs. This news? Kevin Durant confirmed that he will re-sign with the Warriors. And finally, Al Pacino has joined the cast on Quentin Tarantino's star-studded Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Pacino will play Leonardo DiCaprio's character's agent in the film, marking his first ever collaboration with Tarantino. The film also stars Brad Pitt, Burt Reynolds, Margot Robbie, Timothy Olyphant, and Luke Perry. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Tim Kirchen with us if you want to talk to him. Marriage questions, etiquette questions, baseball questions, life questions. The telephone number is 786-456-4837. He will answer just about anything. So does Marc-Andre Fleury look like the waiter who keeps on insisting that you pair that fish with a white Moscato? Does Jeff Fisher look like the guy who always has one beer remaining out of a 6-pack and he's holding it by one of the plastic rings from a previous beer? Mike, you're on with Tim Kirkshin. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Baseball is a sport that loves numbers. So why is every baseball field designed differently? Shouldn't it be more standardized so we could have a more accurate measurement?
Well, I think that's the beauty of baseball, is that every field looks a little different than the other. That's what separates it from football or basketball, which have the exact same configuration. They have to. It's part of the rules, but not in baseball. And to me, that's why people spend their summer going to all 30 major league parks, because there's something unique, perhaps, about each one.
Does Michael Wilbon look like the middle school science teacher who has a drawer full of notes in which he confiscated from students who caught passing them? I read that poorly. I'm sorry. I told you I'm tired. Jordan, you're on with Kirkshin. Go ahead.
Hey, Tim. Where did the 2003 Florida Marlins rank on your all-time favorite World Series teams?
Well, they wouldn't be that high, except the Miguel Cabrera part was just remarkable. As you know, he came up that year, his first game, he had a walk-off homer, and in that postseason, he had the way he approached Roger Clemens and some other great pitchers was just so far advanced for a 20-year-old. And in that World Series, he joined Ty Cobb as the only 20-year-olds ever to hit cleanup in a World Series game.
Tim, what is your favorite World Series champion team?
Well, I think the 91 Twins, just because the games were so great. It went 7. Jack Morris pitched a 10-inning, 1-0 game. That's the best World Series I've ever seen. So therefore, that's the greatest World Series I've ever seen.
Mike, you're on with Tim Kirkshin. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Tom, when you buy fruits and vegetables, do you buy the prepackaged stuff, or are you a pick it up and squeeze it kind of guy?
Good question.
I'm not a big squeezer, but I'm not a big prepackaged. I'll just put them in the bag and go. I'm not going to hang out with the cantaloupes all afternoon.
He ain't got time for that, man. He's got baseball games to cover. John, you're on with Tim Kirkshin. Go ahead.
Hey, Tom. Cody Bellinger's homered in his last 3 games now after being benched for the non-hustle. Is he about to break out of his slump, and is he going to keep up? Thanks.
Yeah, he's a really good young hitter, which he saw last year. Now we're starting to see again, and maybe he got a tiny little wake-up call. But talent always usually rises. I think his is coming, and he's got a little bit more help in that lineup than he's had for the first 6 weeks of the season.
Does Mike Breen look like a milkman from the 30s? Which does he look more like? Mike Breen, soda jerk in the 50s or milkman in the 30s? Does Sean Livingston look like a character from Fat Albert? Dan, you're on with Tim Kirkshin. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Tom. Are the Atlanta Braves the 2020 World Series champions?
Well, they certainly have a possibility. They're a year ahead of schedule. They got young players everywhere. They're so talented. Their pitching is on the rise. They have a nice farm system. I wouldn't say they're going to win in 2020 because there are 29 other teams. But, yeah, they could be good enough to win by that time. Daniel, you're on with Kirkshin. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hey there, I want to ask about knuckleball pitchers. Why we haven't seen too many good ones recently, and are there any that we need to look out for?
I once asked Charlie Huff, who I covered with the Rangers, why don't more guys throw a knuckleball? And the only time Charlie Huff has ever barked at me, he said, well, why don't more guys throw 95 miles an hour? Because it's really hard to do. And I don't think knuckleballers have ever gotten their due in baseball history for how difficult that pitch is to throw. Phil Niekro should have been in the Hall of Fame before. It took him so long, and Hoyt Wilhelm never got the respect that he deserved. And I think it's just a really difficult pitch that takes years and years to figure out.
Stugotz, does Tim Kirkshin look like he still uses the club to protect his 1998 Honda Accord? You guys remember the club?
Yes,
Does anyone in our audience remember the club?
I think the club is still very strong sales in the club.
No, the club can't be selling.
I'm telling you.
You just lock your steering wheel with a club. The club became very popular for a while.
Until 2 years ago, I was using a club on my 1996 Honda Civic as if someone wanted to steal it.
Really? You
Yeah.
were using it as recently as 2 years ago.
The original is still for sale at Advance Auto Parts, by the way, a sponsor, $43.99. How about that?
Kirkchen, does Field Yates look like Cape Cod? Austin, you're on with Tim Kirkchen. Go ahead.
Hey, Tim, judging off of ratings only, what would be the most glamorous World Series? Cubs, Red Sox, Cubs, Yankees, maybe the Nationals? What do you think? Thanks.
I think this year it would be the Cubs and the Yankees this year, just because the Yankees are so much fun to watch. They have physical specimens all over the lineup. There are a bunch of National League teams, none of them great at this point. I think the Cubs still have a chance to be the best team in the National League at the end, and a Wrigley Yankee Stadium World Series would be pretty cool.
Nazer, you're on with Kirkchen. Go ahead, Nazer.
So close, Stugotz. Timmy, quick question for you. If you had one shot at the free throw line, if you make it, you get $3 million. If you miss it, you go to jail for a year. Do you take the shot?
Put that on the poll, Guillermo. Free throw, a year of jail, or $1 million, he said? I don't think that's going to be enough for Kirkchen. Kirkchen makes the big bank. What do you got, Kirkchen?
I'm not going to shoot a free throw. If I miss, I'm going to jail. That's not going to happen. The question I asked years ago was, if God came to you and said, if you make a three-pointer, you will make any shot from 30 feet in for the rest of your life. If you miss the three-pointer, you will never make another shot again for the rest of your life. Would you take it if you were given that offer? So if you're, say, 25 years old and you're never going to miss another shot for the rest of your life, would you take it, knowing if you miss it, you will never play again because you'll never make a shot the rest of your life? I would take it because I'm 61, and if I made it, then I figure I can't make a team because I'm too old. I can't help anyone because I can't move anymore.
Right.
But what I would do is I would travel across the country. I would quit my job, and I would just go into a different gym every night. I'd make 150 straight shots, and the guys would go, God, who are you? I would be like an apparition, and I would say, I'm just visiting. And they said, are you coming back tomorrow? And I said, yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. And then I would go to another gym, and I would cross.
You would be like, yeah, that's great.
Like a hoops hustler?
He'd be like the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot or something, where he's just an urban myth, the tiny 60-year-old guy who keeps coming in here and drilling 150 straight.
Right, and all those guys would say, you remember that dinky little old guy who came in here and did not miss? Whatever happened to that guy? And the only thing that happened to me is I'm going to another gym the next night.
I love it.
That's what I would do with that superpower.
Great business model. Why not just play in the NBA, though? If you're telling me, regardless of opponent, the ball's just going in, regardless of what you put up, you're just going to play in the NBA?
Well, there's a rule. You got to get it off. If somebody's guarding you, you're going to get your shot blocked. I'm talking about an open shot. You don't have to beat Steph Curry off the dribble. You just have to be open, and you're going to make every shot for the rest of your life. But if someone's guarding you and he steals it or blocks your shot, that's different. So there is a rule to my game here.
I love that what you guys just heard is Tim Kirkchen sort of dreaming. And frankly, if I really have to get into it, that passes for erotic fantasy for Tim Kirkchen. Like right there, everything he was thinking about was like, that's what he fantasizes about at night, making all of those shots. What kind of free throw shooter were you, though, Kirkchen? I bet you were probably an 80% free throw shooter, weren't you?
I was better than that.
Yes, you tell him, Timmy.
All right, well, excuse me. I'm sorry. Whoa. So what kind of...
North of 90, I'm guessing.
No, I'm not going any further than that, and I'm not getting into this because we've been over this. I'm 61. I'm 5'4.5". I'm not talking about this.
Kevin, 5'4.5". You didn't need to yell at us. You didn't need to throw in the half. Kevin, you're on with Kirkchen. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Timmy. I just want to know who you think's going to end up with more home runs in the Bronx this season, Stanton, Sanchez, or Judge, and how many are they going to end up with?
I think Judge is going to hit the most, followed by Stanton, followed by Sanchez, and they're all going to be either just below or just above 40.
Tim, we will talk to you next week. Always love you. Big hug, sir. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, guys. See you.
All right.
Raindrop, drop top. Time to read the script for a hot spot.
We're back to that again. Always love you. Big hugs.
I do love that dude.
Well, I know you do, but...
Don't you love him?
Of course I love him, yes.
I can't say love him, big hug. That's not something I could say.
I mean, I guess. It doesn't mean that it's not weird. I mean, always love you. Big hugs. I mean...
Meet the Parents has to be the best volleyball movie.
Don Le Batard.
Finally, Jane's Addiction frontman, Perry Farrell.
Stugotz.
Perry Farrell. Farrell. Perry Farrell.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
This is interesting here. Terrell Owens, over the course of his professional life, was an anarchist. He took a bat to the team concept and inflated the idea of diva star who didn't need teammates to such a level that they punished him by not giving him the Hall of Fame, even though his numbers clearly show that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. T.O. Was persecuted and had a persecution complex. T.O. was complicated. T.O. was a guy who many teammates liked his work ethic, but they didn't like the way that he was. But this is a bold stand for him to finally get the validation of his career with the Hall of Fame and to say, no thanks. I'm declining your invitation. I'm not going to make a speech. I'm not going to go the way that I was treated by this sport and the media who covered this sport. I'm not going to let voters determine how good I actually was. I'm going to decline my August 4th invitation to speak and be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
I mean, those voters voted him to the highest honor in that sport, the Hall of Fame. Now, maybe he wanted to be a first ballot guy, and he wasn't. He was certainly deserving of it.
Has this ever happened before? Because my guess would be that this is simply about the voters covered him in a way that felt unfair to him. His great crime. Keep in mind, T.O. never... We're going to talk to Hulk Hogan here in 15 minutes. This fame can be distorting.
Right.
T.O. went through what was reported at one point as a suicide attempt that he said was not a suicide attempt. Hulk Hogan had a similar experience that we're going to discuss with him here on this day when Anthony Bourdain has passed at 61, taking his own life. T.O. doesn't like the way that he was covered by these people who vote for this cathedral.
Right.
And I think that is the source. That is the source of what's happened here. He has been so scarred and so hurt by the way that he was covered, by his great crimes, Stugotz. He never got in trouble with women. He never got in trouble with drugs. He got in trouble with women in terms of paternity suits, but he never got in any of the trouble that the NFL fears.
Right. But, I mean, Dan, again, they voted, whatever his reasons are, I think it's a bad decision by Terrell Owens. He has made it to the Hall of Fame, and some of that was self-inflicted, the way he was actually covered. Some of it was because it was, we needed to cover him that way because the things that he was doing on and off the field.
No, we didn't. We could have covered him without covering him as cruelly as we did compared to the crimes, Stugotz.
That's fair.
The way we covered him was disproportionate to the actual behavior that he was exhibiting.
All right, but you made it, and this seems small and petty, and it's a big day, and it's a big honor, and you don't want to be there, and it kind of feeds the people who didn't put him in on the first ballot because Terrell Owens was, and the reason they gave was, hey, not a great locker room guy, always making everything about himself. And this kind of feeds that, does it not?
It's a logical leap that you guys are making, but it is a leap. T.O. did not say this was the reason behind it.
Oh, no. He's always said, I am doing psychoanalysis of T.O. based on just, writing magazine stories about him and knowing a little bit what his grievances are. We did a weekly show with T.O. for a couple of seasons when he was in the league because we found all that stuff up Rory's. He did celebrations for us in the end zone the listeners were, his big crime was celebrating. And so now he's saying, no, this celebration, I'm not doing it the way you guys are doing it. I'm doing it my way. I don't think this has ever happened before. I don't think ever that this organization has been turned down when it decides to honor someone. You're honoring someone. They're like, go bleep yourselves.
Well, I don't think he's saying it like that. In fact, he didn't say it like that. It was actually very kindly worded.
Mike, he's putting it kindly. He's not going.
It is unprecedented, according to this NFL.com article, that no one's really approached it this way. But it was a very classy statement, and it just seems from the statement, if you were just to take the statement on its merit, that he just prefers to do this his own way.
I get it. It's FU. Like his way, and his way is different. We've covered this guy enough to know how he feels about the media and how he feels specifically about the media keeping him out of something he merited by any definition, that the experts in that sport punished him for his personality. Go F yourselves. He should get up there to just say that. That's the way he should do it. He should get up there to just say that.
Well, I just can't believe that he's turning down the opportunity to speak in front of all these people that kept him out with no time limit. It's kind of weird. I'm disappointed, too, because it sort of robs us who are championing his cause to get in there. It robs us of the moment that we wanted to see. I kind of feel cheated by this. I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, I'd like to see it as well. Do you think anything at play with the fact that he's not the headliner? Even at his own position. T.O. thinks about this stuff, I'm telling you. Like, Randy Moss is the headliner this year, is he not? And Ray Lewis. I mean, Terrell Owens is like the fourth most famous guy who's going in this year.
I don't think of Hall of Fames as like a headliner. I really don't. Yeah. You're tuning in to see the players that you recognize, whatever order they go in.
I mean, you got Moss, Ray Lewis, and Kevin Mawai.
You know what? On second thought, I'm thankful because I'm pretty sure the season's going to kick off and these speeches are still going to go.
Hold on. I need everything to...
What happened?
Guillermo. Does Kevin Mawai belong in the same sentence with Ray Lewis and Randy Moss? What did you just do?
Don Le Batard.
You are the best, and when I say the best, I mean the very worst and most evil.
Stugotz.
The worst.
But this time, it's for real.
Worst.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Texter writes in, Kevin Mawai is an 8-time Pro Bowler. He's 7-time first-team All-Pro. He was elected to the All-Decade team.
He's that guy.
Hulk Hogan is a legend, almost as much of a legend as Kevin Mawai. His intimate conversation with Ric Flair, Legends of the Ring, that's tomorrow night at the Seminole Hard Rock, Hollywood, Florida. If you want tickets, myhrl.com. He has led a big and interesting life, a painful life, sometimes physically painful. Hulk Hogan, thank you for joining us. A lot of stuff on the internet about you, so we'll just see if we can dispel some myths or add some facts. Your red underwear suspicion or superstition. Your red underwear superstition. Where does that come from, Hulk?
Is this how we're starting this interview out, brother? We're talking about what kind of underwear we wear, man.
Well, but I heard you had 2 plane. I was trying to lead you into 2 plane crashes. Plane crashes is where I wanted to start, not red underwear.
Well, we had some close calls. We ran out of gas one time, and we missed the runway one time, and we hit a snowbank and broke the front end of the plane, and hydraulics went out with me and the Macho Man, and we barely made it back in LaGuardia, and then we stood off the end of the runway. And we had a bunch of close calls. I don't know if you call them full-blown, fireball-breathing crashes, but we had some close calls, and every time I was on the darn plane, I had my red underwear in my wrestling bag with my red socks. So I flew yesterday on a private plane from Tampa to Apalaca Airport here in North Miami, and you know what color underwear I had on. I had red ones on, so the myth and the legend is true.
All right, very good. And so what would you say was the worst? Because you traveled all over the place. You told us the story about, drinking on a plane with Andre the Giant and then pooping yourself when he stepped on your stomach in the ring in Japan. Like, what was the closest plane incident scare that you had?
Well, the one in LaGuardia was a little scary, because it was a commercial plane. It was the old, back in the day, the old Eastern Airlines. I don't know if you guys were even alive back then, but there used to be an airline called Eastern that always took the route from Tampa to New York LaGuardia, kind of like the old Delta route. And Macho Man and I headed out on the Eastern Airlines one time from LaGuardia, and just all the hydraulics went out. And everybody was panicking because it was a commercial airliner. and we got back, barely hit the middle of the runway, and with so much momentum, so many people have been killed and hurt on that darn LaGuardia runway going off into the water that we slid right to the end with everybody screaming and going crazy on the commercial flight and tipped the nose of the plane in the water. But that to me was the scariest because there were so many people yelling and screaming on the plane.
Again, Hulk Hogan tomorrow night, Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood. If you want tickets, myhrl.com is where you go. Is it true, you mentioned the Macho Man a couple of times, is it true that the diss track Be a Man involved you? Is that true or false?
It's probably true. Randy and I had a falling out for about 8 years, and he went through a crazy divorce, and sometimes divorce makes people crazy. And one of the tracks, I'd never heard it. I just heard parts of it, and everybody said it was directly directed at me. The great thing about Randy was we were friends for many, many years, and right before he passed away, we accidentally ran into each other at a doctor's office. He was having his mother's heart checked for some reason, and I was there to get an EKG and a physical and stuff. And he actually walked in the room. He met my new wife Jennifer, and we shook hands and hugged, and we talked the last couple months before he passed away. But that was what was so great about that relationship was Randy was so intense. He either loved you or he hated you. But the great thing was right before he passed away, we got back on the same page. Thank God. Otherwise, it would have haunted me forever.
Hulk Hogan with us here on ESPN Radio. An intimate conversation with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. Legends of the Ring tomorrow night at the Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida. For tickets, visit myhrl.com. Hulk, tell us about the 2 days you were a bank teller.
That's funny. God, I totally forgot about that, man. You guys got all the old dirt. Yeah, it was, my God, that goes so far back. I mean, I think I was the youngest kid ever to get a loan for a new car. My babysitter, this lady named Lita Silverwood, used to run Atlantic Bank, and I walked into Atlantic Bank when I was 16 years old. Didn't have a job. I was just playing in a band on the weekends. Didn't have a job or anything. I got a loan for a brand new car, and I bought a 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner.
Nice.
And probably a couple months later, the band broke up, and I was stumbling around, and I kind of went back to Leela to tell her that I might miss a car payment, and she gave me a job at the bank. And I worked as a bank teller inside the bank for 2 days, and I couldn't handle it. And after 2 days, I got another band, and I quit. but I was a bank teller for a couple of days. I forgot all about that.
What were the names of the bands Hulk Hogan played in? I want to. What were the names of the bands?
Well, you can Google the bands. There was Ruckus. You can Google Hulk Hogan's bands. You can see the crazy pictures of us. There was another band called Coco. We had the lead guitar player from Todd Rundgren's band, Robin Sivukow, was in the band. God, they go back. There's so many bands. The first one was called Infinity's End when I was in high school. But the last couple were the really, really good ones, the Coco and the Ruckus. I mean, I know there's pictures of those things all over the internet, but that was a whole nother life. That was a whole nother life, and you guys are flashing way back.
Well, how about movies, though? What is the role? What are the roles that you came close to getting that we could have, had totally different roles because Hulk Hogan was close to getting, say, Mr. Freeze and Batman?
Well, there were a ton of movies I turned down simply because I just really didn't understand the game. I mean, I made a ton of low budget movies. Actually, the first two movies New Line Cinema ever made, Suburban Commando and No Holds Barred, were Mr. Nanny and No Holds Barred got New Line Cinema launched, and then I made, I guess 10 or 12 really low budget movies. Ninjas, Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain, Secret Agent Club. I mean, just a ton of these low budget movies. But as my movie career was going along, I was getting paid very well for these movies, even though the budgets were really low. It would take me away from wrestling, and when I was wrestling every night of the week, every building, I'm not trying to sound like an egomaniac, but during the 80s, all those buildings were sold out all the time. So as I was sitting on these movie sets, I was missing all these this crazy revenue from all these live events. So I had an offer to have the lead part in the Highlander movie. And because of the training, the prayers, and the vitamins, and trying to keep that gimmick and that image going with the character, the Highlander opening scene, I was the lead guy, and I cut some woman's head off, and then I was supposed to have sex with this dead body. And I went, nope, can't do that. And that movie would have been a career changer. Then I had a chance to be Little John in Robin Hood Men in Tights, and I turned that down because the opening few pages had all the merry men peeing on the campfire, putting the campfire out. And I went, well, I can't do that movie. And so I've done some major screw-ups in turning down movies with Mel Brooks and all kind of people that I could have been in, but I turned them down because that wrestling and that character was so impeccable at the time. I needed someone to guide me better as far as my choices with my career probably back then.
Is it true or false that you've lost 3 inches to surgeries?
Yeah. When I went to do the Rocky movie, my mom, overall, she passed away a few years ago. But if you were to come over my house when I introduced you to my mother, the first thing my mom would do would make you put your back against the wall and measure you, and then put your name up there. So I had all these pencil marks all over the house I grew up in for all the friends and all the people that came in the house. And at 26 years old or 27 years old, I was 6'7" and I weighed 315 pounds. And then fast forward 35 years later, for 35 years jumping up and landing on my tailbone, doing the leg drop and compressing everything, and 2 knee replacements and 2 hip replacements and 9 back surgeries. My mom measured me right before she passed away, and I was about 6'4.5".
Did true or false, Layla Ali helped save your life?
Yeah, I was bottoming out, and she called me and told me how much she loved me and was worried about me, and that was the phone call that turned things around.
I don't know how much you want to talk about that, and it'd be fine if you don't want to talk about it. Maybe people will be talking about Legends of the Ring tomorrow night, Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida. Tickets, visit myhrl.com. But at the point that she was calling you, from what I'm reading here, you were into the pills and the drink and in a super dark place.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk about that probably tomorrow night, so I'm going to save something for the diehard fans that are coming to see us.
Fair enough. That's well done.
Yeah, you guys get anything fun?
Well, fun. Okay, funny you should say that. Because what we have for you that's fun is a guy who's been in a real plane crash, Hulk. Not like your little baby plane crashes. Tell him about a real plane crash from a real man and a real wrestler, Nature Boy.
Woo!
Hey, man.
Yeah, he's the greatest.
Hulkamania.
The great.
Hulkamania.
Greatest champion of all time. Yeah, brother. How you doing?
Buddy? Hey, good. Hey, listen,
I'm good.
Dan, Stugotz, Mike, you know why Hulk didn't have to go to Hollywood? He was making too damn much money in wrestling. They couldn't afford him.
Yeah.
Christ.
That's right.
And he's right. Every building was sold out. Every building I was in had 200 people. What the hell?
Tell him what a real plane crash is, though, Flair. He's sitting here talking about the nose of the plane almost being in the water, and you're sitting there being struck by lightning when you get out of a plane that's destroyed.
Well, a real plane crash would be a pilot dead, 2 guys paralyzed, me with a broken back, but still on my first wife, thank God.
All right, so there's your fun, Hogan. Go have an intimate conversation with Flair at the Hard Rock. There's your fun. 2 paralysis, a broken neck, and a dead pilot. Good talk.
Hey, let me just tell you something.
God.
Let me tell you guys something. There's one reason they call him the Golden Goose. Everything Hulk touches turns to gold, guys. He's the greatest. I got to go on record saying
the
this
blender.
nationally.
Yes,
Now, let me tell you guys something. When I was having problems with my son, I went to Hulk Hogan. He lent me money. He was the first guy in the hospital to see me when I was dying. And I think a lot of the reasons people come and see me now because they think I'm not going to be around the next day. So I owe a lot to Hulk Hogan. I'm honored to be with him. And tomorrow night we will tear it down, brother. The Hulkster, the Nature Boy.
All right.
Woo!
All right. We're going to let you go, both of you, on this note. MyHRL.com, Seminole Hard Rock, Hollywood, Florida. Old timers, sell it. 30 seconds, 1 minute, wrestling promo. Sell it. Sell it.
Dan, wouldn't you rather talk to the Hulk and the Nature Boy than talk about LeBron and baseball? Christ, the Marlins can't beat anybody.
No, we don't want to talk. Sell your event, guys. We want a wrestling promo. MyHRL.com, Seminole Hard Rock, intimate conversation with Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. Sell it.
Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair. I'll be in Miami tomorrow night with the one and only Hulkamania, brother. You'll be selling milk and vitamins, and I'll be selling booze and sit with Lawrence Taylor. Don't miss it. Once in a lifetime. The Hulkster, Nature Boy. Woo! Hard Rock Seminole.
Let me tell you something.
There.
Let me tell you something, Ric Flair. You're the greatest of all time, and if we got a problem tomorrow night, we can finish it right there on that stage, brother.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you being on with us. Thank you for sharing your gifts with us.
Good to talk to you guys.
Cha-ching! Time for some ads.
Always love you. Big hug. Father's Day is fast approaching. Hurry up and get your father a beautiful bottle from Spirited Gifts today. We have told you about Spirited Gifts. We have it right here in the studio, and I think Stugotz has got something for me here.
Wow, that is fantastic. I do have something for you, Dan. SpiritedGifts.com is the website, by the way. They just sent me another great bottle of alcohol. It's amazing. 2 lacrosse sticks on the back, Gentleman's Jack. Unbelievable. I purchased something for my dad last night. It's amazing. I got him the Balvenie. I sent it to my dad. SpiritedGifts.com is the place to go. You're going to love this place. It's a local Miami business. Support the people that support the show. Take a look at Mike Ryan right now. Best lacrosse dad, it says. That's from my daughter, Rachel. Rachel, she bought me a bottle of Jack. Nice. That is awesome. Anyway, go to their website today, guys. If you order by June 8th, and by the way, they're featured liquors, premier brands, Balvenie, Glenfiddich. All right? And I'm telling you, if you want to do something cool and unique and creative for Father's Day this year, the only place you need to go to is SpiritedGifts.com. Order by June 8th. Get free gift wrapping and free shipping. You can only get that by going to SpiritedGifts.com/Dan.
Catch more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Dan Le Batard.
This time in refereeing, we're going to laugh at it in 40 years. Wait a minute. What? Andy Reid reached into his sock and pulled out a handkerchief with stains on it, and that's how he challenged stuff?
Stugotz.
How has tennis figured this out and nobody else can figure it out? Why are you guys clapping back there? You guys are doing...
Well, that's what you do when you're awaiting a tennis challenge. You clap.
Here comes the foot. Yeah. Here comes the foot.
Great call. Yeah.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Allison and Stugotz can sometimes be like an old married couple. And I know an old married couple that I spent time with yesterday, my parents. And they've been married for 51 years. And so what ends up happening is my dad comes home from a long day. And I'm a little early. He was expecting me later. He comes in with a harumph, and he sits down on the couch after a long day. And as soon as he sits on the couch, my mother says, the dog needs to be walked. Nomo needs to be walked. And my father gets up and just starts, I just got home, grumping. I worked today, a whole hour I worked. A long day of an hour on television where they paid me a lot of money and I'm tired. And so he goes out and harumphing, and because my mother knows now how upset he is, she says under her breath, I'm going to do it to him again when he gets back.
Man,
I'm going to ask him to walk another dog when he gets back. And so my father gets back, but he's avoiding sitting on the couch because he knows when he sits on the couch, she's going to ask him to do something again. He's wandering around. Eventually she gets frustrated and she says to him, I need you to walk the other dog. And he turns around like a movie scene when someone's been startled and they turn around he turns around and he stares at the back of her head. Now she's got a big smile on her face because she's bleeping with him. He turns around and then he turns back to what he was doing. Like it was just a death stare silently, and then muttered under his breath like a beaten man. He actually says in Spanish, in not quite these words, but close, Well, I imagine the dog will be urinating on itself then. Just like that. Because he wasn't doing it again. And that's the relationship Allison and Stugotz have this relationship because Chael Sonnen's coming in here, and Allison's only said that about a dozen times this week. But somehow Stugotz didn't hear any of them, even as Stugotz did a promo yesterday in which he teased that Chael Sonnen would be in studio with us today. Stugotz has no retention.
I didn't promote that yesterday.
Stugotz has no recollection. Chael Sonnen's coming in here. It has been said to you and to us many times today and this week.
Today's the first day I heard of it. I don't mind Chael coming in. I would like to know these things in advance. I didn't promote that yesterday. I said Dan's nemesis, Chael Sonnen, is going to join us. I never said he was coming in studio. I'm always the last to know around here.
Wait. You're saying just now is when you found out Chael Sonnen is going to be in studio.
No, he's already walked that back.
No, this morning when I cut the promo. But I did not do that yesterday. I did not do it yesterday.
Stugotz, 2 days ago, I had a conversation with you in what you guys like to call a green room, which is just like a space outside of the studio. I said to you that he was going to be in studio. He's doing radio and he's doing a bit with HQ. He will be here. And you were like, thank you. I appreciate you telling me. We had this conversation.
Never happened.
You are like, there's something really wrong with you. We had this conversation 2 days ago.
We didn't.
The idea that
and watch your tone. That's a fun.
No, I'm not. No.
This is what it was like with my parents. I saw Allison's look. Stugotz wasn't looking at her. Stugotz is saying, I think he does it to bother you, Allison. I'm not sure.
Look at him. He's smiling so happy.
It reminded me of my mom yesterday trying to bother my dad. I can never know with Stugotz whether he's trying to bother you or not.
Well, look at his face. He's clearly trying to bother me.
I'm not trying to bother you.
What do you care about the advance notice? You're the perpetual glad handler. Chael Sonnen will get here. You'll make him your buddy in 3 seconds. You'll be patting him on the back, and the next thing you know, you'll be asking him for tickets to a major fight coming up.
Totally. I mean, yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. How'd you know? But yes, that's what I'm going to do. I'm fine with Chael coming. I'm fine with anyone coming into studio here. I just like to know about it in advance, you know?
Mm-hmm. Now I know you don't listen to anything. When you say that's great, thanks for telling me. I know you're not actually listening to me.
He's not listening to any of us, Allison.
He's the worst.
He's just waiting for the next time he gets to talk. He's not listening to anything. We talked on the show today. This is how it happened, and Chris saw it happen in real time. Stugotz was initially alleging that no one told him anything. And then Billy and Chris told Stugotz, we were saying about the security guard earlier on this show that he was going to do his job so poorly that he was going to let someone in who kills us, but he's going to fight Chael Sonnen and keep him out because he doesn't know who he is. That's a conversation we were having on the show, and Chris Cody saw it happen in real time. As Stugotz said, went from, you guys never told me anything. You guys never told me anything before this morning. And now he's doing those pacifying gestures that are always his tell when he's lying, where he soothes his arm by rubbing it with his other arm.
I'm concerned about you, man. Like, sequencing of events is usually a strength for you. It hasn't been lately. What I'm telling you is I knew pre-9 o'clock this morning because I did the promo, and then therefore that conversation that we had on air, I was totally in on. I got it. Like, yeah, Chael Sonnen's coming in the studio. I mean, I'm concerned, man. Memory issues and stuff. Seriously, the sequence of events is important.
This is the sequence.
The master of it.
This is the sequence of events. Sequence of events.
Almost defined.
The sequence of events is that Chris Cody looked up shocked, horrified, and betrayed because of how quickly you moved your pivot point. You are someone who never traveled. Look at him. Are those eyebrows moving sinisterly? Can I see him? He turns his back to me. You do nothing but spread things that are not true. Words do not matter to you. Truth does not matter.
You have so many tells when you're lying.
The rubbing of the arm.
You raise your eyebrows. You breathe.
Yeah. Hold your breath and try not to tell a lie. I bet you can't do it. I bet you cannot hold your breath and try not to tell a lie. I feel like you're going to lie. That you're going to lie anyway, that you can't, that the lies will all just, what's going to happen is the lies are going to keep backing up like a traffic jam in your mouth until your mouth eventually explodes open with one of the lies. He's written down that he's 27 years old. He can't. So he's keeping the lies at bay in his mouth. They are. He is keeping them at bay as long as they leak out occasionally things that he can write down that are not true. So, Chris, you saw it. What's your level of disappointment? You saw it. What's your level of disappointment in what just happened during the break, where he started to camouflage things, lies to cover more lies?
Oh, he was James Harden backpedaling on defense.
I believe him. I listened to the teasers. He never said in studio on any teaser, yesterday or today. I believe that he didn't know.
Thank you, Stugotz. I appreciate that for the first time in your life you're being sincere when you write that note that you love me.
Stugotz was right? Holy Stugotz was right.
I mean, he's even lying about holding his breath.
More money, more problems.
That's true. That is exactly right. He wasn't holding his breath. The whole thing was a lie.
He just inflated his cheeks.
That's all. Yeah.
Don Batard.
What I'm telling you, this is what I'm telling you. You send 4 or 5 or 6 88-year-olds my way, and each one of those fights is going to look like Don Zimmer and Pedro Martinez. Each one of them. Send them one after another. It'll be like a kung fu movie.
Stugotz.
Send them one after another, and I'm telling you, I'm dusting a dozen 88-year-olds, one after the other. They're like zombies. They can come all at once, one after another, with my hands.
What if Hayden Fry is one of them?
All of them. 88 years old, unless Jeff Conine's father is there.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Terrence Bud Crawford looks to conquer a third weight class when he battles WBO welterweight champion Jeff the Hornet Horn. It's a strange nickname, man. Saturday, June 9th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on ESPN+. That laughter you just heard is Chael Sonnen. I had no idea he was coming in studio. He's here.
The Hornet is a weird nickname. What do you think?
Thank
Because
you.
it stings? Because it's scary? I don't know. I don't love hornets, I guess.
Just the way it's positioned, the Hornet Horn.
Ah.
Right? Weird.
Sure. Redundant is what we call that in American language.
I guess. Here's your SportsCenter update. The state of New Jersey has passed legislation that will legalize sports betting. The governor will now have 45 days to act on the bill. Former Miami Hurricane Kellen Winslow II was arrested on felony first-degree burglary after matching a description of a man who broke into a mobile home.
Classic.
And finally, Mariah Carey told Jimmy Kimmel that her 7-year-old son ordered a dog online and also once spent $5,000 while on Amazon without her knowledge. Got me thinking. Guys, you know me. I like to be in the action. If you need tickets to the game or your favorite band, look no further than Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Vivid Seats has options to fit your needs. Make sure you get to vividseats.com/ESPN today for an exclusive discount offer. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Very soon, June 20th, the ESPN app, ESPN Plus, all the ESPN gizmos. It's the show, Ariel and the bad guy. The bad guy is with us. Very few people in the history of sports have done the bad guy better than Chael Sonnen does the bad guy. He wants a clarification, though, because he doesn't want to be upsetting his mother. He is not chewing on dip.
That's right. Coffee grounds.
Coffee grounds and Red Bull. That's what we looked at. When Chael was coming in here, you would have predicted that's what he would have looked like.
I wrote 3 things down before you got here. The black long sleeve sweater, which looks fantastic.
Appreciate that.
I put dip in the mouth, but let's clarify again, it's not dip, but there's something in your mouth.
Tomato.
It's coffee, whatever. And I said a Red Bull. And I nailed all 3.
Why do you need so much energy? Because the coffee dip is also for energy, yes?
I despise mornings, and I know what you're thinking, well, hey, it's almost lunchtime. Not for me. I came in from Portland last night, so I'm 3 hours behind you still. I'm still getting going.
You despise mornings?
Yes.
A wrestler has to be up every morning doing all sorts of stuff. Right?
All the time. I can't control it. My body kicks on at night. I mean, about midnight, I can't go to sleep if I wanted to. That's my highlight of the day. I'll get up and go running. Sometimes I'll do my run at night. Midnight, 1 in the morning, because that's when I just feel my best.
This show that you're doing, well, first of all, UFC coming to ESPN. How did the Fox, according to you, who's always honest,
Mm-hmm.
How did the Fox experience go for the UFC?
Yeah, well, I think it went really well. So they paid $1 billion spread out over 7 years, which was like an industry changer. It really changed the entire industry, not just the company of the UFC. Gave everybody a bunch of opportunities. And I think in hindsight, Fox got one heck of a good deal. I think they were very happy with it, and ESPN looked at that and said, well, after all, we are the worldwide leader, so if this is going to be such a big sport, then we got to have a seat at the table, and now they do.
And what are you going to be doing with this show? Are you going to try to be informing people? Are you going to be teaching, or are you a show for the people who already know and want to be expert?
Yeah, so I like to think of it as more of a show for the hardcore. That's what I think of it as. And essentially, there's even been we don't have a name for the show yet, but we're thinking about more of like a 5 rounds, and we'll just go bell by bell. The 5 biggest topics of the week, in and out. Ariel and I, it's on the app, ESPN Plus. I'm sure that you and most of the listeners have it. But yeah, boom, there it is. It's very topical. There will be very topical news.
What do you mean you don't have a name for a show? It says here, Ariel and the Bad Guy.
Well, I apologize. Ariel and the Bad Guy is the name of the show. I meant the theme, but I believe the direction they're going from talking to Nick in production is kind of like a 5-round thing.
What we've been looking at from the UFC, because I know you love it, and the people who love it are going to love it no matter what, but it feels like they've got a transcendent star problem.
Yeah, and that's been discussed for a lot of different reasons, which one is saturation. A lot of people thought, well, are they oversaturated? Should there be a season, much like football and baseball and basketball? And Dana White said, no, we're going to go around the clock 365. So I don't know that is the reason, but I agree with you. It's a star-driven business. It's important to tell the stories, and that's kind of what Ariel and I are going to do, make sure that people understand. Because I don't believe the punches and kicks are enough. As much as I enjoy the sport, I just don't need to see 2 guys punching and kicking each other. I've been spoiled with that. Now I got to have a story.
But in the absence of stars, I actually like that seasonal idea. I do. Like it keeps you waiting around for something that you love, right? And crave it even more.
Look, it evokes the most basic premise of economics, which is supply and demand. Yes, if you can up the demand and shorten the supply, it does seem to move ratings. Now, I mean, business is still very good, but to Dan's point, yes, stars are important when you're doing a show every week. You used to be able to survive with 5 and 6 stars because you had 5 and 6 shows a year. Now you have 52 shows a year, and you've got up the star power. That's a reality.
What do you do with the idea that the UFC is again flirting with Brock Lesnar? How do you feel about the idea that someone like Brock Lesnar? I mean, we know he's dirty.
Sure.
The tests prove it that's a well that people keep going to, even though he's not in any way a traditional mixed martial artist who has earned it.
Well, and the eye test certainly tells you he's dirty, right? I kind of wondered when he finally did get flight, what took you so long? And I think that was most people's reaction.
Human beings don't look like that. Yeah, the test should be that.
They just simply don't look like that. But I will tell you, he is a once-in-a-lifetime attraction. I mean, let's talk about the plus side. Now, he's a once-in-a-lifetime attraction. If you're ever around Brock, I don't know if you guys have been, but if he was to walk in the room, you would feel something. There is like an aura around.
Scared is what I would feel.
Yeah, you might feel scared. Yeah, but I mean, there is something special there, and if he was to come back, man, I could tell you, I would tune in.
Yeah, urine dripping down my leg.
That's what you would feel.
Yes.
Yeah. Who would you say is the most menacing man in the history of the UFC?
John Jones. Yeah, John Jones, without question. I was locked in there with him. It was like a Volvo versus a Mack truck. As soon as we locked up, I just go, oh my goodness, what is happening here? And I think he's a very special talent. I think that
you never felt that before.
No.
You fought Anderson Silva.
Yeah, they're not even close. Yeah, not even close. But there's an asterisk, with those guys too.
Is there a close second there, though? Is there?
No, Anderson would be down the list. Anderson's a very good talent, but he would be down the list. There was some better guys, and that was a little bit of fluff. And we've seen that. I mean, that's kind of what promotion is, right? We saw that with Ronda Rousey. That's a reality at times. But
we've seen it with you. We've seen it with you.
Sure.
You have made yourself like. If not for the personality, what is the career Chael Sonnen has?
Well,
and you're a good wrestler, and you've fought in big fights, but your gift was selling fights more than fighting.
I think that's right, and you've pointed that out. I do feel I might need to defend myself. I will tell you, my last 11 fights have all been against world champions.
I know, but
I won 8 of those.
But you're a star. You're a star.
But I did beat 8 world champions. Sometimes I do feel that you tell me, but sometimes I do feel the sense of you as, hey, Chael only got here because of his ability to entertain.
I'm asking you the question. Okay. If you had the same exact resume, but no microphone, you didn't know how to sell a fight. You were boring, like a lot of the fighters are. Yep. You didn't know how to talk a good game.
I'm broke. Yep, I'm broke. I wouldn't have got the opportunities because your pay is directly reflected to your placement on the card. I would have been lower on the card.
Can you tell us more about fighting John Jones? Tell us, because I'm surprised to hear you are not a humble man.
Yeah, I will tell you. So I really thought I was going to beat him. He was a lot younger than me, and some people say there's a youth advantage. I'll go, man, this guy's a little kid. I'll push this guy around. And we got in there. We locked up right off the bat. And I remember within about 5 seconds into the fight, my back was against the fence. He pushed me all the way against the cage. And I remember trying to move and going, boy, I got to change some strategies here. And I don't have another strategy. I did not know this was strength would be a problem. And he got on top. Yeah, I remember one time he sat up and elbowed me. I didn't know where I was. I came to, and which I think was about a millisecond later, but when you lose track of time, could have been a day later. I came to and I'm looking around going, my goodness, is somebody going to help me? It was that kind of debilitating. I've never lost a fight in my life, and this includes a wrestling match since I was 9 years old, where I didn't want a rematch. Give me another shot. I can get closer, or I can beat the guy. I can shorten the gap. I got done with John Jones. Young man, go enjoy your run. I'll be in the corner. But my coach and I didn't even discuss that fight when it's done. Every fight, you sit down with your coach, Clayton. Yeah, you break the fight down. We never even discussed John Jones. We got our bag, and we left the arena.
This is something we're never talking about again. We'll just remember you as your eight world champions. That's how we're going to...
There you go, 8 world champion. But he was a special talent, and I do feel that I owe that to him for sharing the ring with him. I feel I owe it to tell the story the way it happened, and he was special.
But you're a prep guy, so how does... you're not coming into a lot of fights unprepared.
For sure.
So, explain to us the surprise in... Well, I didn't know he was this strong, because I would think that wouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah, and he was a rare talent, too, and I'll tell you, in this sport... It probably wouldn't surprise you to hear me say that it's really whoever wants it the most, whoever works the hardest, who wants it in the gym. I went through something called The Ultimate Fighter with him, which is known as a reality TV show, but it's really a training camp. You're at the ultimate facility with great training partners and coaches. I trained every day, twice a day, never missed. Saw him every day. He was so drunk. He was so hungover. One time he fell asleep in the octagon and they filmed him. He was snoring. He was so drunk. And I thought, this guy just simply can't keep up with me. He doesn't want it. He's not focused. He won't be in shape. He kicked it was one of those things where you're going, hey, 2 + 2 is not equaling 4 in this situation. And that's just what happened.
Well, what would he have done if he had been trying?
Yeah, so many people have asked him that. There were some great basketball players. You remember the name Dennis Rodman? Mm-hmm. Remember how he used to go out and be crazy? And so many people said, you were so good. What would happen if you did this by the book? And other people have speculated, well, no, it was that looseness, that ability to not focus on the stress of the situation. I don't know, but maybe that is part of John's charm.
Again, new show, Ariel and the Bad Guy, debuts June 20th, ESPN Plus, ESPN app, all the other ESPN gizmos. It must drive you crazy as someone who cares about the sport to see that specific talent squandered.
Yeah, it does, and it is a little bit confusing, and it does send the wrong message maybe to the younger guys. But maybe there's something to study there. Maybe there's a deeper psychology that we're missing that does come back to what I was talking about of being naive, not having the stresses. There is something called paralysis by analysis in sport, where you sit and focus on something that you just freeze up. So maybe if you look real hard, there'd be some positives there, but yeah, man, there's been some disappointments. He let some people down. That's fair to say. He's got to live with that.
What are you excited about on this show that you're doing? What's the thing that enthuses you? Ariel and the Bad Guy debuting later this month.
Well, I'll tell you right off is the brand. ESPN, we're the worldwide leader for a reason, and they know how to do sport better than anybody else. And I think it's a major opportunity for MMA and not just Dana White and his company, but I think all of MMA. I think Bellator and Scott Coker and everybody across the board is going to be risen up by this tide. I'm excited to see the production, though. I will tell you, I'm not sitting on a whole lot of aces over here. I'm also kept in the dark. This whole thing happened very fast. I spoke to ESPN. Hey, are we even putting in for the ESPN deal? No, we're not even at the table. I get on a plane to London to cover a Bellator event. I read a press release that comes through the Wi-Fi. ESPN locks down the UFC. So this was only a week ago. So this whole thing has gone very quickly, but I'll tell you what I'm excited about. I do respect Ariel Helwani. He can drive me bonkers sometimes, but he is knowledgeable and he is passionate. I can get a hold of him at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. If we're talking business, he will answer his phone. I respect that. I respect hard workers. He will bring information to the table and I'll bring an analysis. I think we'll have some fun.
Chael, looking forward to it. You make very good television, sir, so thank you for being in.
And radio.
Well, thank you, fellas.
Don Le Batard. It's Friday. I'm getting into the weekend. I want to get my drink on. Stugotz.
We've got to open up the club. Open it.
Open it. Open it. Now.
What is the computer buffering? There it is.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Let's crawl into the club, crawl to the finish line here. So we've been very tired today. We cannot read, we cannot think, we cannot talk. Stugotz is having trouble even lying. Yeah. Let's open up the club. Do it every week at this time. We send you into the weekend with a happy hour feel, reminiscing nostalgically about sounds during the week. What's the first sound in the club, Mike?
Mike Shinoda.
There it is.
Yeah.
That is Stugotz at his very best. Who else in the club?
Mama, I've made it!
Oh, that guy. That better not become an Adnan situation where Ryan Hollins is lurking around the show.
In the Transformers before, there were some robots that, as an African-American male, I felt said some racist and edgy things.
That Dumet guy that he was talking to. Who else in the club?
This incomprehensibly stupid, monumentally, colossally ignorant observation that Roy Halladay's no-hitter doesn't count.
That was Billy Gill's observation that Bob Ryan objected to. What else is in the club?
This can only be the spouting of an individual who is uneducated in the world of sport, had not the slightest knowledge of how sport works.
Who else in the club?
I was on Central Street in Hingham, Massachusetts, about to take a right-hand turn onto South Street, right in front of St. Paul's Church and adjacent to the Square Cafe.
He remembers where he was when he heard you say it, Billy.
Beatles a bit overrated.
Oh, God, Billy, just shut up.
I love this feud that you got going with Bob Ryan. You make him insane. Who else in the club?
Oh, God, Billy, just shut up.
I love this. I feel like we should do interviews between you and him. Just you two. Who else in the club?
I'm doing the thing! Stop!
That is Mike Ryan as Arnold Schwarzenegger being chased by the Predator. Who else in the club?
We're talking about robots. How could we possibly make this racist?
Such a perfect. Stumbling around his words.
That's Josh Dumet. Who else in the club?
Now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West, a state that's untouchable like Elliot Ness. The track hits your eardrum like a slug to your chest.
That is Greg Cody out of nowhere doing hip-hop.
We in that sunshine state with a bomb as hemp heat.
What a moment.
It sounds like him.
Murray!
Oh, there it is. Yes. That is cold calling Stugotz.
You can listen to the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio, and you can watch on ESPN